All right, man, peace. So, brothers, in the aftermath of the 2019 NBA Finals, in which the Toronto Raptors were able to dethrone the Golden State Warriors, Andre Iguodala, the former standout bench player for the Golden State Warriors, decided that he was going to embark on a rather controversial press tour to promote his book, The Sixth Man. The reason why I call it controversial is that even though the liberal sports media has praised and lauded Andre Iguodala for some of the revelations that he brought to the light over the course of promoting his book, in my view, I look at him more like a rat from the Mafia. You know, if you ever watch any of those mob movies, they always say, the characters in those films always say, this is the life that we chose. So you already know, if you join the Mafia, there are going to be hits that you have to execute. There might be hits that are put on you. When the mob puts a hit on you and you decide that you're going to turn Fed, they're never going to look at you with respect. You're always going to be considered a rat. So when I saw Andre Iguodala on the Breakfast Club talking about how the Golden State Warriors made him write down on the injury report that he was suffering from a bone bruise in the 2018 Western Conference Finals when he actually had a fracture in his leg, all that told me was that now you're trying to spill the beans because you know that you're most likely going to get traded. And on top of that, bro, that's the life that you chose. You're a championship level player participating in the championship aspect of the season, of the postseason. So we know that there have been a bevy of players who have risked their health to go out there to try to win a championship. So why would you decide that you're going to reveal that type of information? Kevin Durant, yes, he went out there and he ended up rupturing his Achilles, and he was most likely told that that would not happen. But he also spoke to his own physicians who informed him that it would be okay for him to play. So it was up to him to make that decision. I personally believe that Kevin Durant always knew that he had an issue with his Achilles, just like Andre Iguodala knew that he had a fracture in his leg. And he made the decision as a man because that's the life that they chose. These guys are signing 9-figure contracts. And by the way, the money is fully guaranteed. So when you go out there and put your life on the line, there's no risk that you're going to lose money if you get injured. So it's up to you to decide. Now, there was a player who played at Louisville University a few years ago, last name Ware. His first name is escaping me right now, who's also playing with a fracture in his leg, and he ended up having a compound fracture, a very gruesome injury that occurred during the NCAA tournament. And that's what Andre Iguodala was risking when he came back from the fracture, because when you play on those fractures like that, those hairline fractures, they can snap at any minute if you put the wrong pressure on that leg at the wrong time. Like, for example, had Klay Thompson had a fracture, even a hairline fracture in his left shin or anywhere in that vicinity, when he landed how he did, when he went up for the dunk against Toronto, I guarantee you, not only would he have torn his ACL, he also would have cracked his fibula and his tibia in half as well. There's no doubt about that in my mind. But just to get back to Andre Iguodala, everyone is praising him. Oh, Andre's speaking the truth. Bro, he's speaking like a woman who just received divorce papers from her husband. Now all of a sudden, he wants to air out all the dirty laundry from the team that he participated in and co-signed. I promise you that in the same way that Andre was pressured to come back and play in 2018, he was pressuring other players, including Kevin Durant, to come back and play in those pivotal moments in the playoffs when it seemed like they may have been injured. So I don't want to hear from him. I don't want to hear him trying to demonize the Golden State Warriors medical staff. All that is bullshit to me, and it's just sour grapes from someone who's frustrated. Is what he's saying the truth? Absolutely. But once again, that's the life that he chose, and he's being thoroughly compensated for it. Now, he also made some other relatively controversial statements pertaining to Mr. Mark Jackson, the former head coach of the Warriors, before he was summarily terminated in 2014 and replaced by Steve Kerr. And that's also par for the course. That's part of that industry. Suddenly, he wants to talk about how Mark was done wrong and how he's been blackballed. Let's understand something. The NBA is a super liberal league. It is a Marxist league. I've been telling you brothers that for a very long time now. If you make any stands against super liberalism, they will remove you. They will find a way to remove you. So that's how you know that despite how progressive the NBA styles itself, the term progressive is code talk for super liberal. You have to co-sign feminism, which basically is the veneration of the mother goddess. You have to co-sign the homosexual, lesbian, and transgender movement, which basically is the veneration, the worship of the divine child or the divine hermaphrodite. You have to co-sign these things to be a part of the NBA. That's why you see players like Kyrie Irving coming out of the woodwork talking about how he's in the Hermetic Brotherhood. I'll be doing a video on him later. But Andre Iguodala, he knows this already. You have to play the game, as they say, to be a part of the NBA. It is a woke league. I've been telling you cats that for a very long time now. And you're not going to last unless you play the political game. That's why Steph Curry comes out to the forefront, showing his obeisance to the feminine principle, so on and so forth. That's why you have LeBron James and Chris Paul appearing at WNBA games. That's part of the under-the-table agreements that they have with Adam Silver. Adam Silver scratches their back, and they have to scratch his back by showing up at WNBA games to, quote-unquote, show support for the WNBA, which is a league that is used to promote lesbianism. Those are just the facts. But just getting back to Iguodala, suddenly he wants to talk about Mark Jackson. It is what it is. So they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Next up this morning, Andre Iguodala certainly had a lot to say yesterday on The Breakfast Club. Iggy opened up about his former coach Mark Jackson's religious beliefs and how they've played a role in him no longer being a head NBA coach. Iggy also dishing on how KD's Achilles injury was handled. Take a listen.
Everyone's feeding stuff in our head when KD coming back, back.
And the fact that it's the finals.
That's what I'm saying. Last year happened to me. I missed.
Now listen to what the brother said. He said, everyone's feeding stuff into our head. When is KD coming back? When is KD coming back? Y'all are all grown men. Why are you paying that much attention to the media? That sounds like someone who has a guilty conscience. That's why I state that without a doubt in my mind, Andre Iguodala was one of the main players who was probably pressuring Kevin Durant to come back. That's why he's trying to blame the media now. Everybody's feeding stuff into our head. When is KD coming back? Why are you listening to them? You're supposed to be insulated, especially in that environment when you're trying to win a championship.
3 games of the Houston series, it goes to game 7. We barely get out of that series.
And if you're paying very close attention, the book that Andre Iguodala is selling, The Sixth Man, is right behind him, and it's right next to, of course, the quote-unquote rainbow flag for Luciferianism. That rainbow flag is for Luciferianism. It's not for the homosexual movement. It's just been aligned with that movement because the homosexual lesbian movement are just branches on the tree of Luciferianism. That's all they are.
They're looking at me like, when you coming back? And I had a fractured leg. But it's being put out there like he got a bone bruise. I'm like, no, it's fractured. But so I'm fighting with the team. I'm fighting with people. I'm fighting with the media. And then my teammates ask me every day, how you feeling? How you feeling?
You played under Mark Jackson for a year, right? Now, whatever happened to Mark? Because he put that team together, it seems like, and then nobody ever gave him a chance again, which seems weird.
We were just talking about that this morning. And
that's interesting to me because the NBA is supposed to be a progressive league, right? So you have a black coach that gets fired from Golden State, but he cannot get another opportunity with any other team across the NBA. Now, were this the NFL, they would claim that it was racism. Imagine if you had a black coach get fired in the NFL. Say, for example, Mike Tomlin gets fired from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he can't get another job all of a sudden. Everyone will claim racism. I know that for a fact, but in the NBA, nobody says anything because all these woke black players, superstar players, they're scared to say anything to Adam Silver. Most of them have been raised under the black matriarchal energy anyway, so they're accustomed to that Luciferian ambiance, that Luciferian atmosphere of confusion. They don't even know what to question. As long as they're getting their money, they'll do and say whatever Adam Silver wants them to do and say. And in return, Adam Silver will throw them their crumbs. They're nothing but children anyway. They think like children. Hey, I'll let you wear a t-shirt because a black guy got shot by a cop. Wear that t-shirt. Can't breathe. Okay, good. Just make sure that when I want you to promote certain ideologies that you're down with it. I promise you that if the NBA regular season was during June, they would have all these guys wearing rainbow jerseys. And there wouldn't be a damn thing that they could do about it. I promise you that.
I just talked about it earlier, about playing a part. But if that's not who you really are, you can't play the part. Or you can't play the politics game. And I think it was a lot of that. Like, we were huge fans of Mark, the players. He was the ultimate players coach.
You think Mark Jackson is blackballed from the NBA?
I do, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Andre Iguodala, he's spilling all the beans. He's upset because he found out that Bob Myers and Joe Lacob, they put a hit on him. He was one of their capos, and he found out that he had a hit put on his head. Now he wants to turn Fed.
That's a lot of information there. Blackballed, bone bruise versus fracture. Shannon, what's your reaction to everything Iggy had to say?
You know, I told my grandmother to say, boy, there's 3 people that'll tell you the truth. Drunks, kids, and angry people. And I guess there's a fourth if he or she is peddling a book.
That's why I said the person I really want to hear from is David West. Because David West has been talking about how troubled the Golden State Warriors locker room has been for the last 3 years. So, I mean, if they were troubled this year to the point where it's finally coming out, imagine the type of shit that was going on back in 2016.
He's selling a book, The Sixth Man, a memoir. Oh, Skip Baylor. Andre Iguodala. Because I'm listening. I didn't know at the time. I had to do some research because I've listened to it. You have to listen to snippets.
You mean your researcher had to do some research? Because all your ass was doing was sitting up in your house watching LeBron James highlights.
I'm like, why is he spending all this? Why is he going on this repentance tour? Mm-hmm. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, okay. So now I see. Because, Skip, not only is he throwing people under the bus, he's driving the bus. He ran on bloop, bloop. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I got you good. He backed up.
Yeah, he dry snitching. Now that he's no longer down with the clique, he want to dry snitch. That's why I say, look, a lot of these guys, they so full of shit. When I see these people on television, LeBron James and Chris Paul and Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant trying to act woke, there's a reason why they're cast as leaders for the so-called black community, because they're proxies, they're pawns. That's all they are. Their job is to promote Luciferian ideologies for money. They've sold out. They don't even realize that they've sold out. Part and parcel of getting paid $35 million, $40 million a year is that you have to act as an intermediary between Adam Silver and the dictates of the people above Adam Silver who operate behind the curtain, corporate sponsors, etc., and the masses, particularly the so-called black masses, who create the pop culture that influences the whole world. That's the order, that's the hierarchy, that's the alignment. You have the people behind the curtain, the corporate sponsors. They deal with Adam Silver. They let him know, and he's already in tune with what they want because he embraces the same ideologies of super liberalism. And then he passes that down to the owners who are willing to do whatever as long as their bottom line is not affected. And we know that most of the major stars in the NBA are working directly with many of these same corporations. So they already know what the corporations want. They'll do whatever, say whatever, as long as their money's not being affected. That's why I've stated, and some other people have stated as well. What controversial statement has LeBron James or Kevin Durant or Chris Paul or any of these guys who are supposedly leaders or quote-unquote woke, what stand have they actually made that would have been rendered controversial or unacceptable by the mainstream media? Just name one. They've never made any real stand on anything other than what they know will be accepted by their corporate sponsors.
Run them again and then loop right over the top of it.
True.
But Andre Iguodala offered you a glimpse in how it works. And I said this, Skip, because I've been a professional athlete. I don't know if people realize that, but you do.
When was that?
That was a long time ago. 15 years. It was 15.
Well, that's a good sign for you, Shannon Sharp. If you're no more as a broadcaster or a sports analyst than you were as a professional athlete, that means that you're doing a relatively good job as an analyst, because you were certainly a great football player.
For 51.
Don't worry about what I told you.
Ancient history.
Don't worry about it. I still look good for 51. That what
You do. I give you that.
I look good for any age. Don't be talking about 50. Oh, you look good for 51. I look good for
You look
any
good
age.
for 51.
I look good for any age.
Negro, get back to the damn point. Get back to the segment.
Hey, let me get back to my point.
Yeah, please.
And I said, the team will never tell an injured player, you will play. But what they do is that they keep planting the seeds, not only to you, but they plant it with your teammates. You heard Andre Iguodala say they like, oh, you okay? I mean, everything all right? When you gonna get back out there?
Yeah, he was doing the same shit. He's sitting there trying to act like he's so damn innocent. But the tip-off was when he said we were constantly getting fed by other people. When's KD coming back? No, that was your way of saying that you were put under mind control to harass KD because you knew that it was pivotal that he come back. Golden State knew after game 1 that they were going to have a lot of trouble with Toronto. Just the matchups, the length defensively, they were going to have a lot of problems with them. And they were going to need all hands on deck. Now, had Klay Thompson never gone down with the injury, I do believe that that series would have went 7. And who knows what the hell would have happened. Because remember, they won game 2 and Klay Thompson goes down. Then game 3, Steph Curry scores 47 points and they lose. Klay Thompson comes back in game 4 and they lose that game. But he was not quite right all the way. Game 5, KD comes in and he's exemplary in his brief time out there on the court. But I do believe that had Klay Thompson not gone down with those 2 injuries, the hamstring and then, of course, the ACL tear, that would have been at least a 7-game series. Or who knows, maybe Golden State wins the series in 6. Who the hell knows? We'll never really know. But the point being is this. In the championship moments of the playoffs, that being the conference finals and the championship round, players are pressuring one another to play. So don't just try to blame it on the organization or the media. Be a man and accept your culpability. That's why I state once again that Iggy, he's just turning state here.
Man, boy, we had you. This thing wouldn't even be close. Knowing the competitive nature of athletes. Yeah, it starts getting into your head. I mean, I need to get out there. And they keep planting that seed. Now, Iggy said he had a fractured leg. They said it was a bone bruise. Oof. So if I'm Kevin Durant, said, hold on, wait a minute.
Thank you.
You told me I had a calf injury. All the while, I'm like...
Right, but did Golden State really tell him that he had a calf injury? Or was that just the misdirection, the misinformation, or the disinformation that was put forth to the mainstream media? I believe that Kevin Durant knew the whole time that he had an issue. Most likely, they told him an exaggerated strain of his Achilles that would heal in about 5 to 6 weeks. And the reason why they told the media a calf is because just the term Achilles is very inflammatory. It's very provocatory when you use that term Achilles in association with a high-level professional athlete. So there's no way in the world that I'm going to believe that they told KD that he had a calf injury if they really knew that he had an Achilles, because they certainly would be prone to lawsuits right now or privy to a lawsuit right now. So we'll see if KD tries to sue the Golden State Warriors down the line and claim malpractice. But that wouldn't even make sense because he had the chance to be evaluated by his own physicians. So I think that, like Iguodala, he was fully on board with risking his body. Once again, that's the life they chose. They joined the MAFIA when they got drafted into the NBA. That's the life they chose.
It reported Kevin Durant's very, very upset with the diagnosis that he got from team staff. Get back to that, Skip. The pressure to play, especially because it seems like because Peter Gruber, Skip, I forget the article, but you just a couple of months ago, how they were light years in terms of everybody. And by the time they catch him, by the time the rest of the NBA caught up, they would be gone again.
You mean no,
Peter Gruber, the
I
owner.
think it was Joe Lacob who said
Yeah, that was Joe Lacob.
It was Lacob. I'm sorry. My fault. It was Joe Lacob.
Yeah.
We're
light years ahead.
Light years.
He did.
And when the rest of the NBA catches up with us, we're going to be gone again. We'll be light years ahead of them again. In other words, we be lying.
Shannon, you don't know if he's lying right now. I'm sure that they anticipated that there would be a year of an intermission per se, where they would not be likely to win an NBA championship. But their eyes are on Giannis Antetokounmpo. I made a video about that a while ago, that the Golden State Warriors were eyeing Giannis Antetokounmpo when and if he became available. They were also eyeing Anthony Davis. Now, of course, that's not going to happen. But I do believe that the Warriors are going to land a big fish in a couple of years. We'll see. We'll find out. They're certainly going to put themselves in the position to do so.
We be lying to the players. Skip, this is not good. This is really not a good look for the Golden State Warriors.
I will say that it's not a good look for the Warriors, but I think that it's an even worse look for Andre Iguodala. And I'm not quite sure if other people have picked up on it. Once again, that's part of the culture of professional sports, that you put your body on the line, especially in the playoffs. And he agreed to it. Golden State is not allowed to lie on injury reports unless he's willing to be confederate with them. So he has to accept his own responsibility. He's just bitter because he received those divorce papers. He knew that he was going to be traded if they had to get rid of KD.
NBA, because it goes to show you that they prioritize winning over individual. And this is why I tell guys, look, you better go get your second opinion. Because at the end of the day, the team doctors, I understand he takes an oath, but he took another oath, paycheck oath.
So, bro, do you really believe that KD did not get a second opinion before he made the decision that he made? If he stepped out there onto that court in Game 5 without getting a second and third or maybe even fourth opinion, his agent should be fired.
Coming from the team, not from you. So you go get somebody that's on your payroll and you get them to give you a proper diagnosis, that they have your best vested interest at mind. Skip, the Mark Jackson. You nor I are surprised what Iggy said about Mark Jackson. Because I can't fathom, the man can't get a call. Forget Skip, okay, he got interviewed and said they want to go somewhere else. But we see some of these guys that's getting recycled. Frank Vogel done got a job. They got 2 jobs.
Right, but Shannon Sharp, let's evaluate this for a moment. Andre Iguodala says that Mark Jackson has been blackballed by the NBA. That's what he states. And you're on TV claiming to be not surprised by this. And as a matter of fact, you're claiming to be incredulous by the notion that Frank Vogel can get numerous jobs across the NBA, despite the fact that he had a nice little 2-year run in Indiana. Other than that, he has not accomplished much anywhere else. So what's the reason why Mark Jackson cannot get an opportunity for a job if there are prominent players like Iggy and, of course, LeBron James, as well as prominent media members like yourself who know about this? The reason why is because you guys are too cowardly to say the truth on national television, because you're a part of that same Luciferian brotherhood that is stopping Mark Jackson from getting another opportunity to get a job. Or as Andre Iguodala says, you have to play the political game. If you're willing to play the political game, then you have tacitly agreed to be confederate with those who are stopping Mark Jackson from getting a job. You're not even going to be willing or have the courage to say that the reason why Mark Jackson cannot get a job is because of his alleged controversial beliefs about gay marriage. Because you know that if you staunchly reject the concept of gay marriage, you'll lose your job yourself. So if we're going to talk about why certain people cannot get positions in the entertainment industry, we have to address the energy behind the rejection of certain people. And none of you guys have the courage to do that because you're part of the problem.
Oh, this man done got a call. He can't get a call.
Okay.
I hate the term blackball because it's that negative connotation. I mean, anytime you say something black, you know, they're in the black market, black magic, you know, black ball. I say white ball. Because, see, white ball, they have the fake. See, if you get blackballed in our community, Skip, what would it do? That means we don't talk to you. Yeah. We can't prevent you from doing anything.
Yeah.
But we...
If you get blackballed in the so-called black community, that probably means that you are about to catch a black bullet in your ass. That's probably what that means. So to say that when you get rejected in the so-called black community that nothing can happen to you, no, that's not true at all, Shannon Sharp. But go ahead, continue on.
White ball, they can prevent you from doing things like having a job in the NBA or playing quarterback in the NFL.
And you understand that, which is why you don't get on TV and condemn the same thing that Mark Jackson is condemning or allegedly condemning, that's stopping him from getting another head coaching job in the NBA. So you understand the power of the entertainment industry and that hierarchy because you are part of the entertainment industry. You're in the sports media world. In the sports media world, you must not only accept, but you must exalt homosexuality, lesbianism, and transgenderism. You simply do. And a lot of you guys, I'm not saying you per se, Shannon Sharp, but a lot of you guys are bisexual or pansexual or homosexual behind closed doors. And you can't come out and say that because that would really take a lot of the facade off of what the entertainment industry is actually about. Once again, not saying Shannon Sharp per se, but a lot of these guys on TV, they're fully aware of the Hermetic Brotherhood that Kyrie Irving has claimed publicly. They allege that Kyrie is so crazy for saying what he said, but they go to the same lodge that Kyrie Irving goes to. They shake hands with him. They do their little secret handshake and have the rituals with him in that same lodge. They go out into the woods and yell out incantations and spells to try to court certain spirits to enter their body just like him. But on national television, they have to castigate him and cast him off as crazy. So I just don't like when people who fully understand why certain members of the media are not exalted to the degree that people think that they should be exalted or given the chances that people think they should get. You get on TV and you act like you don't know why that is. And you know damn well why that is. It's because people like you who have the power to support Mark Jackson with your words don't do so because you'll know that you'll be privy to the same condemnation.
Point. Yeah.
And he said, you know, Mark is very devout in his beliefs.
He is.
And his beliefs do not necessarily coincide. And Andre was speaking about you have to play the political game. Also, Mark has to understand that the country and where he coaches, they're very open-minded.
You mean the city? The state where he coaches is very open-minded, quote-unquote open-minded? That's another buzz term, by the way, brothers. I'll probably be doing a video about that concept very soon. What the Luciferian ruling structure has done, and when I say the ruling structure, I'm talking about the media and the government and also Silicon Valley. A lot of the internet manufacturers are Luciferians. What they've done is they've created catchphrases to trick people into agreeing with their ideologies or being condemned. They'll use terms like equality or open-mindedness or progressiveness, which have positive connotations. So therefore, if you don't go along with the ideologies that are associated with those terms, you're condemned as someone who is, of the old guard, quote unquote, or too old-fashioned, a dinosaur. Or they'll even castigate you with even more inflammatory terms. Supposedly you're a misogynist or chauvinist or a quote-unquote racist or a reverse racist. Things of that nature. Just if you question what their intentions are. They know what their intentions really are. That being to abide by and adhere to the tenets of Luciferianism, which are to bring together the opposites, to show their obeisance to the mother goddess, the divine child, and the horned god. But a lot of that happens behind the curtain. They get on TV and they have to make it more palatable for the masses. So once again, that's why they'll use terms like open-mindedness. That's why if you read the scriptures, if you read Genesis, the 3rd chapter, when the serpent approached Eve, it tells you that when she accepted the serpent's fruit, that her eyes were opened. You understand? When they talk about somebody being open-minded, they're referring to the acceptance of certain tenets, certain beliefs. And when we talk about somebody having their eyes opened, the predominant eye that's open is the 3rd eye on the left-hand side.
And his beliefs didn't necessarily coincide with their beliefs. Now, I don't know if the owners, Joe Lacob and Peter Gruber, went to him and said, Mark, you need to tone this rhetoric down. I don't know what happened. But if they come to you and they say, you need to tone this down, this is not the time or the place, well, you're going to have to, keep your views to yourself. And keep it moving. But for me, I think he's learned. I mean, Mark is who he is. I understand that being Mark is a couple of years older than I am, and we come from a part of the country in the South, Skip, that, certain things, we weren't as open-minded when I was growing up as we are now.
That's the second time that Shannon Sharpe has used that phrase. Once again, he has to couch his sentiments in verbiage that's not going to alienate the power structure that is employing him. You understand that, brother? He's been compromised. So that's the reason why Mark Jackson cannot get hired. When people get on TV and claim they don't know why Mark Jackson is still without a coaching job in the NBA, it's because the black members of the media know damn well that they cannot depart from superliberalism, from quote-unquote progressiveness. If they try to depart from those sentiments, the superliberal Caucasians who employ them will stop their money right away. So they've all been compromised.
Right, because you
Mark's not from the South.
No, he's from New York, but I'm saying we're that age.
Okay.
But Skip, and for me, you look at people like, I dislike them because what? They want to marry. You like somebody, you love somebody. Now, as I got older, I judge a person by how they treat me, not who they.
No, as you got older, you judge a person by who you're receiving your checks from. Let's understand something, and not to diverge off into a tangent, but the reason why that concept of homosexuality and lesbianism was always castigated is because mankind, for a certain period of time, was geared more towards the concepts and the precepts of the Bible, which tells you the man, the woman, the child. In Lucifer's society, it's the man and the man, it's the woman and the woman together, and soon it's going to be the man and the boy. That's really what they're moving towards. So that's why they talk about love, and that comes from the Aleister Crowley credo of do what thou wilt, and the law is love. When they use that term love, when Luciferians use that term, or what you call liberals or progressives today, when they use that term, they're talking about the veneration of Heru, who's the quote-unquote Christ figure or Lucifer on the left-hand side. That's why they use that term of love is love. Who are you to come against who someone loves? But just to get back to the point, Shannon Sharpe was raised in a society where what was promoted and what was accentuated were men and women coming together. This society promotes men and men coming together. We had so-called Black History Month in February. We had so-called Women's Month in March. You had the quote-unquote homosexual month in June. I saw far more propaganda and information pushed about homosexuals and the exaltation of homosexuality in June than I ever saw for Black History Month in February, or even Women's History Month in March, which is annoying enough as it is. So now they're letting you know, so-called black men, at the beginning of spring, you have to bow down to the mother goddess. At the beginning of summer, you must bow down to the divine child. Once again, June is the month of Tammuz, the divine child. That's why they have homosexual month that month. You understand that? Tammuz is just a Semitic name for Heru. Spring, or April, is the start of the veneration of the mother goddess. So in March, well, really spring starts in March. Spring, which starts in late March, is for the mother goddess, rolling into April. And April, or Aprilice, is one of the names of the mother goddess. And, you know, not to go off on another tangent, but that character Issa Rae, who I did a video on, her last 2 movies, her character name was April. As I tell you cats, these top females in Hollywood, especially the so-called black actresses, they worship the mother goddess, and most of them are lesbians behind closed doors. They talk the pro-blackity black shit in front of the camera, but off camera, they're lesbians and they hate men. So I bring all this up to help cats understand. This is why Mark Jackson does not have a coaching job in the NBA, and he will never have a coaching job in the NBA unless he promises that he's going to bow down to the image of the divine child or the divine hermaphrodite and exalt homosexuality and lesbianism. Remember the great point guard Tim Hardaway? He made a comment about homosexuals, and they blackball him out of the league as well.
Yeah, can't laugh. You marry a goat, marry a car. As long as you treat me good, I'm cool with you. I'm a people, not what you do. You know, how you treat me, okay, I'm going to treat you the same, not who you with. So,
in other words, Shannon had to make that disclaimer on national TV before the LGBT come at his ass for supporting Mark Jackson. That's why he went through that whole spiel. And I'm sure that cats will say he also said you can marry a goat. I don't think that he meant anything necessarily Luciferian by that, but you never know. Because I think that was more offhand, but you never know.
I'm not surprised, but we knew a lot of this, Skip. You covered the game far too long. You know how it works in the NBA. I think Andre offered the fans, the casual fan, the people that don't know how the league, the teams actually work. He gave you a glimpse inside. He pulled the curtain back and said, see, it's really all about one thing. It's about winning. And they will sacrifice the players' health in order to win.
So, my big picture takeaway from reading all of these responses from Andre on the Breakfast Club yesterday, 2 things. I think, even though he had said in days previous that he's convinced Kevin Durant is going to re-sign with Golden State, I think he just made that a lot harder with his confessions.
Right.
And on Mark Jackson, which I'll get.
Well, once again, and we know this in the aftermath of Kevin Durant being basically traded to Brooklyn in return for D'Angelo Russell. The reason why Iguodala made those statements is because he already knew that he was going to be released, basically, or let go or traded away if Kevin Durant was traded away to a team or sent away to another team. So he already knew what was coming for him.
Just a moment. I'm not sure he did Mark's case any good in getting another job in the NBA, because it dredges up.
Mark Jackson is never going to get another job in the NBA. Skip Bayless. So knock it off.
The old details, many of them highly controversial. Just not sure that was the best thing to say at that moment. But back to Kevin Durant. To your point, when you say that they lied about your own bruise, that it was actually a fracture, which I'd never heard.
No.
So you actually...
When he says they lied, what he means is we lied. Right? That's what he actually means. Because he has to agree to the lie in order for them to fill out an injury report of that nature.
You forced him, in a way, you sort of emotionally forced him.
Right.
And he said his teammates were all saying, you good?
You good? When you coming back?
Coming back? To come back with a fracture of some kind and play in the NBA Finals. Because he did play in those games.
Right.
Sparingly, but he did play, and he played pretty well. So if you're saying, if you put it in the Kevin Durant context, then it feels like that they misled Kevin. That's the inference you're making, right? Well, why would Kevin want to rejoin that? Why would he re-sign with that?
He never wanted to re-sign with that, and Golden State knew that already. They knew for the entirety of the season that Kevin Durant was not going to come back. And I'll be covering the dynamic of that phenomenon in another video. But it's very much akin to, in certain cultures, when a man knows that a woman is going to leave him, that he feels like he can't replace. He wants to take a chunk out of her ass. In certain cultures, they throw acid in a woman's face if she tries to leave a man. In my view, this was Golden State's version of throwing acid in Kevin Durant's face. They knew that he was leaving, and they said, we don't really give a fuck about this guy's future because he's going to leave anyway. So we're going to, if we need to, put his health on the line. That's the only reason why Steve Kerr would have sent Kevin Durant out there to play 48 minutes, basically, or 40 minutes. He was ready to play Kevin Durant, coming off of what, without a doubt, in my mind, they knew was a very serious Achilles issue that he had. I won't say an Achilles injury per se, but it's a very serious Achilles issue. And Steve Kerr was ready to have him out there for damn 43, 44, 45 minutes. It's because they knew that he was leaving, and they were not going to leave any gas in that damn car.
Okay.
Especially after that group. Skip, it's hard for me to trust. Look, if I have an injury like that, Skip, it's hard for me to regain the trust that you're going to be 100% honest with me moving forward.
Well, Shannon, here's my issue. If he has trust problems with the Golden State Warriors medical staff, that means he would also have trust problems with his own doctor, who I'm sure told him something along the same lines as what Golden State told him. Because I have to believe that he got a second, third, and fourth opinion. That's if he has management that's worth anything.
I don't know how KD gets that back with this team.
Yep, I agree. To Mark Jackson. I know Mark, and I'm a fan of Mark.
So am I.
And I do believe he did a terrific job with the young team. Because remember, he had Steph and Clay very young. Clay was a rookie in his first year. So they go 23-43, and then they went 47-35. They lost to my Spurs in 6 games, and it was a hellacious battle in the first round. And then they go 51-31. It's pretty great.
Right.
And they lose to the Clippers in round 1 in 7 games.
Right.
And it was a knockdown, drag-out. So those players still love him because he taught them how to play NBA basketball.
Especially defense.
He laid all the groundwork for the dynasty that was about to rise out of that.
I still don't personally believe that Mark Jackson would ever have led them to a championship. I think that many of his offensive strategies were way too antiquated, and he had the basketball in Steph Curry's hands too much.
But I'm going to use another Joe Lacob quote here. When Mark was fired, Joe Lacob's quote was, part of it was he couldn't get along with anyone else in this organization. So we transcend all of his staunch religious viewpoint, and he is a pastor.
Yes.
He is called Pastor Mark. But beyond that, Mark is his own man, and I know him well enough to tell you he's got like Jimmy Butler in him. He won't back down to anybody.
That's
so
New York City.
You got it. That is true. And so it's his way. It's not the organization way. No, I do it my way.
Right.
And don't you come in my office, anybody above him, owners, executives, don't come in my office and tell me how we're going to run this ship. I run it.
Right.
And after a while, if you push back hard enough upstairs, they'll push you right out the back door.
And Shannon Sharp, you know that, as well as Skip Bayless, you know that as well. It's not just the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors are just a very tiny twig on the entertainment industry tree. You guys work at Fox Sports 1. You know just as well as anybody that if you were to say anything even remotely inflammatory about the quote-unquote homosexual community or the LGBTQIAABCD LMNOP community, you'll be out of a job as quick as hell, as quick as a damn lightning flash.
Works. Yes. And that's just life in America, right? Life anywhere.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So, again, staunch in his beliefs, and some people believe highly controversial stances, and we could go...
How about you? What do you believe, Skip Bayless? You said some people believe highly controversial stances. It's controversial in 2019 to say that a man and a woman belong together. Not even condemning homosexuality or lesbianism or what have you. It's controversial just to say that a man and a woman belong together because supposedly that's an attempt to oppress women. Right? So that's the condition of the battle that we live in. That's why my channel's focused on the man. If you focus on any other demographic, you're wasting your time because you're not adhering to the proper order. The men have to get themselves together, their minds right. We all do. And then you move on to your woman. or your women or whatever your situation is, and then you guys deal with your children. If you try to speak to many of these other groups, these other demographics that have all these demons on them, you're not going to profit anyone, not even yourself.
On about that, but it was bigger than that,
Right.
Because he did want to preach to his players, and a lot of them at that point, it was a very Christian team,
Right.
And a lot of them went to his church with him,
Right.
And on Wednesday night, he would preach to the team if you chose to come,
Right.
And they would stream it back to his church, which he had at that point in Van Nuys, which is here in Southern California.
Right.
So that's going on, and obviously ownership became concerned. Well, what if we draft somebody who doesn't believe in what Mark believes?
Well, they don't get-
Isn't that interesting? Do the owners worry if you have a super liberal coach and you draft a player who believes in the scriptures? What if that player is upset by the coach promoting a super liberal lifestyle? Do they worry about that? No.
They don't have to go.
Because Skip, I mean,
but
we-
then there was the
Right.
questions get raised. Will Mark not play them because they don't believe what Mark's preaching, or that can get very dicey.
I don't believe that would have ever been the case.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we had guys. I mean, our team, we had Bible study, and
Yeah, I
you know,
got it.
if you
You
wanted
can
to go,
choose or not
you can choose or not.
Okay, all
Still,
right.
they have prayer in the locker. They have prayer in the shower. Okay, prayer. Okay, fine. You do you. I ain't got no problem with that. I'm not
But
forcing.
your head coach wasn't leading Bible study.
No.
Prayer in the shower. What the hell is going on here? Prayer in the shower. Nah, brother, I think I'll wait till I have clothes on to pray.
No, he was not. He
Okay.
was not. They attended. I'm sure Dan. I mean, Dan was
Dan was.
Dan was
I know.
very religious. He would go. But they're just like, if you want to go, you're welcome to come. If not, no harm, no foul. It's just, and I agree with you. I don't know if Iggy did Mark any favors by going into it, like the kind of.
Of course he didn't do Mark any favors. He was just trying to do himself a favor. Once again, Iguodala came off to me like a woman who received divorce papers from her husband. And she mad at the world now. She going to tell everybody all his secrets. That's all that was about to me. Or a capo who figured out that a hit was placed on him by the family that he's associated with. Now he won't turn Fed. Was not impressed. No, I want to see a book or some type of player drop dime on exactly what was going on in that locker room for the last 3 years. Not this shit from Iguodala. That stuff don't impress me.
Details of what transpired. If they told Mark, if the ownership told Mark, we don't want you preaching on. If you want to preach on your off time,
Yep.
you want to go to a church, have at it. But we don't want you doing it here. If they did that, I don't know. Like I said,
By the way, I think they thought Mark was spending too much of his off time in Van Nuys at the church because he was still, quote unquote, like a full-time pastor at the
full-time
church.
Yes, he was.
So after a while, in their eyes, he became expendable. Would I like to see him get another church? Sure,
Yeah.
I would. Just on basketball principles.
Yes.
Again, he coached.
That's also the answer to the query of why does Stevie Kerr run on television with his woke t-shirts and rambling on about Donald Trump and all these other quote-unquote societal issues? It's because he's playing a progressive role. I do believe that he's a quote-unquote progressive, but super liberal Caucasians, brothers, I'm telling you, man, they are far more vicious than the quote-unquote conservative Caucasians. At least the conservative Caucasians will let you know, Negro, we don't like you. And they'll tell you that from the jump. The super liberal Caucasians will invite you into their house and try to feed you, and you don't know that there's poison in the food that they're giving you. And if you don't accept that poisonous food, they're going to call you the same names that the conservative Caucasians call you and then kick you out of their house.
Better believe he can coach. Does he have a good job right now? Yeah.
He's very good.
Got a really good job, and he's really good at it.
They're great.
Yep.
They're great at, not good, they're great at
They're
what
great.
they do.
They're great. I agree.
Always fun to watch and listen to those guys. And NBA season will be back here before we know
I
it.
think
Damn, I didn't even know they had a moderator. She was so quiet. Hopefully Molly Curran takes note, but I doubt it because Stephen A. Smith is not moderating his moderator. And that's why, once again, that's why I speak to the so-called black man. You see how Skip Bayless has his moderators under control? Their job is to moderate the conversation, is not to jump in and cut people off. Molly Curran does that all the time. Notice she wasn't doing that back when Skip Bayless was there on First Take because he knows what the role of a moderator is, and he knows that what he has to say is more important than what a moderator has to say. And the only time a moderator speaks is when Skip Bayless asks them to speak. That's how it's supposed to be. But anyway, peace.